No Rain, No Flowers is the 13th studio album after releasing Ohio Players last year, an album review diagnosis you can find on my channel, by the American rock duo The Blackkeys, a duo that consists of Dan Auerbach on guitar and vocals and Patrick Carney on drums. Friends since childhood and formed a band together after dropping out of college. A duo that began in Akron, Ohio in 2001. An independent act, recording music in basements and self-producing their records before gloriously emerging as one of the most popular garage rock artists in the 2000s. They released their debut album, The Big Come Up, in 2002, and now, 23 years later, we have No Rain, No Flowers. This duo wastes no time, almost putting out a new album per year at this rate. This one, No Rain, No Flowers, being only 36 minutes long. And boy, did it feel like a quicker one. Released through Easy Eye Sound and Warner Records, this album had 5 singles before its release, those being The Night Before, Baby Girl, No Rain, No Flowers, Man on a Mission, and On Repeat. In 2024, the Blackkeys fired their management, making No Rain, No Flowers the first Blackkeys album to include songwriter and producer Rick Knowles, along with Daniel Tashian and Scott Storch. The duo wanted to work with long-admired songwriters rather than lesser-known musicians. Carney even stated whilst discussing production that, "We wanted to go straight to the source, into a room with people known for their songwriting." And that they did. The duo also went straight into this album with a single and self-titled track, No Rain, No Flowers. A song I enjoyed, but thought of it as not necessarily the strongest choice of a song to open the album with. I personally would have placed it 4th or 5th in this 11-track album. No, I would have started it with the next track, The Night Before, another single which had a more uplifting, pronounced sound to kick off an album with. An upbeat sound like in the following track, Baby Girl, I'm glad they focused on. Don't get me wrong now, the Blackkeys have some amazing, even legendary ballads like Little Black Submarines, or even songs later in this album. But I feel the band really thrive with their toe-tapping, swinging, energetic tunes, which was showcased mostly to the front of No Rain, No Flowers. The energy was somewhat kept, and the story was told throughout. A story of romance, that is. And that romance was felt and embraced via their next track, Down to Nothing, which got me thinking. This is an album you need to play with the lights off, candles lit, and keep them burning for tracks like On Repeat, Make You Mine, Kiss It. Okay. Actually, I've been trying my best to hold back from saying it, to sound professional. But if you're ever going to engage in coitus together to music, this is the album you need to be humping to. No Rain, No Flowers is bonerific from start to finish. But I was still a man on a mission to find that next epic Blackkeys album to fall in love with, like Gold on the Ceiling, Wild Child, or aforementioned Little Black Submarines. And I believe I found it. I believe I found it with Man on a Mission, to which picked the album's energy back up while still telling its romantic fable. Maybe my band These Evil Eyes will even make a cover mashup of it, like we did with Little Black Submarines and Stairway to Heaven. Go ahead and check that track out at the end of this video, and help my band out with a like, comment, and subscribe. It was at a little too high, where I felt the after coitus feeling and vibes kicked in, high off emotions and serotonin, to then be capped with the last track, Neon Moon. A track that put this musical experience to bed with a soft lullaby. Speaking of my band, These Evil Eyes, I am joined today by the one, the only, Kara, returning from our album diagnosis together for From Zero by Linkin Park. But we had very contrasting opinions on this album, and you know what? Without saying no more, Without further ado, take it away, Kara. What did you think of No Rain, No Flowers?
Their least bluesy sounding record to date, in my opinion. There's still underlying blues there, but I think they went more on the side of northern soul and groovy Motown infused with pop. It's clear that these guys were trying to infuse a bit of a pop mainstream appeal with this record, probably because, let's face it, there's not many blues bands that are up there these days in the mainstream ear. And I would hope that they would constantly find a way to integrate that for the younger generation to hop on the bandwagon of blues. Because, who doesn't love, amongst us, me and you, Taylor, like, we love our garage rock, we love our indie, we love our blues. And I think El Camino and Brothers are two albums 15 years ago that was their prime heyday, that really got the allure, the attention to be in the limelight. I think what it came down to is, overall, it wasn't a great record because the last tour for Ohio Players, the album that was released last year, which I credit to even being a better record than this one, their tour was canceled because they couldn't sell out major venues, and even for like the small venues they acquired after that, everything was just shut down altogether. As to why they fired their management, I think this record was something they were trying to pull off with some pop producers very quickly to kind of recuperate the deficits of the loss last year and try to get up and running with a tour to, give the fans something hopeful for. The extensive layering from the rhythm section on this record is more credible than, let's say, the melodic between the vocals and guitar. I really like the drums and the bass bits. I think they're the most attractive thing to cling on to, as opposed to the melodic instruments. It's reminiscent a bit of Arctic Monkeys, Tame Impala sense of psychedelic feel and these subtle effects. We hear a lot of keys and synth, a lot of electronic music implemented for sure. But they try to keep it still like that bassy blues that we know them by default to do. So the record does start a bit more upbeat and happy. But even though the first half of the record that I favor mostly is all the great singles, which I'm going to mention in the end, my top 3, it does lead into a more melancholy sparse throughout the album, the second half, which is not very compelling for me to really grade this very high. My critical points would have to be something like they have to be more innovative to put blues and where it should be in 2025 and keep that signature sound that they do going while incorporating these new electronic elements that I'm talking about. I think on a linear graph trajectory, if they did a moderate dose of both, they could probably tap into the younger fans and keep their fandom and popularity going. Ohio Players, as mentioned, the last year's record, which tour shut down, precedent had Beck, Oasis, so the Gallagher brothers were on board with that, Dan the Automator, who were producing the album. And even then, last year, that was their lowest Billboard rank since 2006, landing at number 26 on the Billboards. The managers told them they couldn't play in certain venues. Like I said, I feel like this was just I don't want to say a desperation to kind of get back up and reevaluate, but the album is called No Rain, No Flowers for a reason, to inject more effort, more labor, and more energy, blood, sweat, and tears into the album, or else nothing can come to fruition. So the band members themselves said that they were so focused on their creativity last year that they forgot the business side of things, and that very much so when you're a band that's past their prime, you kind of need to look at both. And so it was a big mistake that they neglected that aspect, because they ended up subsequently firing their manager because of it. Their songs having gradiating hooks, I'll give them credit for that. The tracks would benefit from elevator of ambient music or in a grocery store at most. I hate to put it that way, but for the most part, it's not that memorable for me. So for that reason, I have to give the album a 5 out of 10. Passable, anthemic, and smooth, albeit overall there was some nice bits, but not many a grit or raucous charm. There wasn't much risk taken to make it stand out for the reasons I aforementioned. My three favorite songs that I'll recommend is Baby Girl, nice funkiness to that, Man on a Mission, and The Night Before, which we've been hearing all year since February on radio stations all across North America. Very catchy. It's growing on me. I'll give them that.
The sun has set, and this album review is coming to a close. You heard Kara's fave songs, and these are mine. My favorite songs from No Rain, No Flowers were Baby Girl, Kiss It, and Man on a Mission. What were yours? What did you think of No Rain, No Flowers? Kara gave it a 5 out of 10. I usually don't really do ratings for albums, but you know what? I'm giving it an 8 out of 10, bringing it to an amalgamation of 6.5 out of 10. Again, let us know what you thought of No Rain, No Flowers in the comments. And yeah, check out my band, These Evil Eyes cover mashup, Stairway to Black Submarines. Follow us on everything at These Evil Eyes. And you know what? Send Kara a follow too. You can find him on Instagram at Zesty by Proxy and in the description. And lastly, like and subscribe for new music, album reviews, plus so much more here on the Dr. T Show.